I think you spoke last week in a in-house interview about wanting a lift. You know, you felt you got that last Friday?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought our attacking play on Friday was very good. Obviously wasn't particularly pleased with our defensive display in the first 45. But I thought over the 90 our attacking play was very good. So the work rate from the players, the way we played, I thought was very positive. And yeah, second half I thought we were in complete control of the game and deserved the 3 points.
How tricky a week was it for you? And obviously the nature of football, you just have to move on very quickly. How easy was that to do?
Yeah, it's obviously never easy when somebody loses their job, especially someone that you've built up a very strong relationship with, and you know, obviously a new team from our time in Scotland playing against each other, you'd obviously know each other, and then obviously doing our badges together and stuff like that. So he's someone that I've obviously had kept in contact with when he went in at Drogheda, and like I said, you then develop that relationship and friendship that grows when you work together. And it's obviously extremely disappointed for him to lose his job, but it's something that I've been involved in a long time, 25 years in the game now in a professional sense. So it's not the first time I've seen good people lose their jobs, and that's just the nature of the beast. It's you have to just get back on the horse and go again. And a lot of the players, I think, probably was the first time in their careers that it's happened where they've been at a club and lost a manager. So it was just trying to make sure they were all in the right frame of mind and obviously help them through that kind of period.
Did you consider your position when Tim considered his, or were you always going to stay on yourself?
No, well, I think it's funny because I think a lot of people just assume that everybody gets chucked out with the manager, and I'm obviously an employee of the football club, and I spoke to Tim on it, and I'm obviously here for the players and the team, and obviously as long as they need me here, I'll be here, and if they don't, then again, that's football. It's happened to me before where a manager's come in and he wants his own staff, and it's something I understand, I get it, it's how it works, and it's not something I'm going to hold against people or hold against the club. I've already said that to the chairman. If somebody else comes in and they want their own staff, then obviously I won't stand in the way. So I'll still be a Pats fan when I leave. So that's the way it is.
Yeah. And what is your position now? Like, is there a length on this interim deal, or do you want it full time yourself? No,
well, I think I've just been asked at the moment to step in an interim basis. How long is that? How long is a piece of string? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It's not something I've been told that it's going to be a long-term thing. I think what I have been told is that they will look to make decisions. In terms of do I want the job, I've never shied away from the fact that I'd like to be a manager one day. That's why I've gone into the coaching side, why I've gone to Finland for a year without my family over there, why I've come here without my family, is to all one day gear and get me ready for being a manager. I'm more than capable of doing the job. I've told the chairman that, and you know, if he needs to take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the club's in good hands while he makes that decision.
This could be a big weekend for you then and the club, like 2 big results, and you'll put yourself in a good position to keep this job.
Yeah. But basically, yeah, it's as simple as that. It's look, ultimately I understand how football works. You know, we're going to be judged on first and foremost the results, but I think the performance has to be there as well for me. I thought it was there, as I said, against Cork. I thought the performance was good. The result was obviously pleasing. So yeah, obviously Friday night, I'm not even looking at Monday. There's no point looking at Monday. I'll look at Friday, and then we'll look at Monday at 10 o'clock on Friday night.
You spoke there about going to Finland without your family, coming here without your family. Stephen Bradley spoke to us last week about management and how it's not for everyone. You have to be a certain type of individual to want to do it, to want to thrive, and it's like, do you see what he's getting at in that?
100%. I also think you have to have good family behind you. I'm very fortunate that I have a wife in Linda who's very comfortable with me going and doing my work, and you know, I ultimately do it to provide for my family, first and foremost. Secondly, I do it because I love to do it and it's my passion. You know, and I would agree with him that it isn't for everyone. It can be a lonely place, lonely job at times, and but from my point of view, I look at the staff that are around me, and I think I've got good staff around me, good people around me that can help. It's definitely not something where you can just go alone. You need people around you to help you. I say to the players all the time that I'm not going to get all the decisions correct. You know, the other night making changes, making substitutions, like taking Jake off. A lot of people probably would have questioned that, but at that moment in the game, I wanted something different that Jake was giving us. I think as long as you explain your decisions to people, they will respect the decision. And as I said, if I don't get it right, I'm big enough and bold enough to hold my hands up and say that's on me. So I think that's all I can do is just be honest with people. And as I said, going back to the kind of went away from what you said there, but yeah, it can be. But I think when you have good family and good people around you, it helps. And I'm very lucky that I have that.
So after the upheaval of last week and a lot of changes, was it nice to come in this week just off the back of 3 points and fresh start and such?
Yeah, obviously winning obviously breeds confidence, and the lads obviously after the game were delighted, and rightly so. They've gone 2-1 behind. You know, arguably we started the game well. There was obviously decisions in the game that probably went their way with the 𝗏𝗏 incident and other situations. So yeah, to go 2-1 down at any venue at half time and come back and win, it's a massive result. And then as you said, you come in then this week with a fresh focus on Drogheda and getting ready for that. And again, like I've mentioned earlier, we can't let ourselves think too far ahead. Obviously it's a quick turnaround for Monday, but fully focused on Friday, getting 3 points against Drogheda, putting in a good performance for the fans who have obviously been great for the players and great for the team all season. They've backed us well, so it's important that we put on a performance for them as well.
Obviously beat Drogheda up there a few weeks ago, but they did cause you problems and had a good few chances themselves. Mm-hmm. How do you see Friday going? I
think they're a good side. You look at the Derry game the other day, Derry winning 1-0 against them. Draper hits the bar, has an unbelievable save from 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏. So yeah, they're a good side. They have players in the team that can cause you problems, and the players are well versed and well rehearsed on what they will pose, the threats and the areas that we feel we can exploit them. And it's important that we then carry out that game plan again. And obviously, if that's not going to plan, then we need to adapt and change something. And yeah, I think they're a good side, and I think they'll be like every game they've had this year. They're always competitive. They stay in the game, and it's up to us to make sure that we take our chances when they come.
I'm sure we asked you last year as well. You said you were a Pats fan.
Well, yeah, I used to go to games when I was younger. I used to go and watch Shells as well. I used to go to watch. Went kind of all around watching football. My dad was obviously just a football fan in general. My wife was a Pats fan when she grew up, so I'm saying I will be a Pats fan when I leave now that I've worked here, and obviously I've got to know a lot of people here, so it's the same way I support Dundee United, I support Rangers, I support all the teams that I've been at before, so that's how I kind of work, is the teams I've been involved with, I kind of support them going forward.
Yeah, as a fan, could you understand the way Pats fans were a bit frustrated earlier this season?
Yeah, of course. I think it's when you don't see a product that you're happy with, then you're obviously going to voice your frustration, and that's football. I think what the Pats fans probably have to realise as well, there's circumstances around why the performances weren't at the levels that they needed to be. I think if you rip any three centre backs out of any team in the country, you're going to find it difficult. Goals, as we're all aware, can flip the momentum of a game. And we've obviously conceded too many goals this season, and that's partly to the fact that you're missing, arguably your three most experienced centre backs, and that's something that we, with Tim obviously previously and us as a staff previously, we were trying to fix and trying to get right and trying to find the right formula that worked. Like I said earlier, we've gone down to Cork again and we've conceded 2 goals, which makes it difficult. It means you're scoring 3 goals away from home to win a game. You can't do that every game. As much as you'd like to score 3 goals a game, it's not always going to happen. So we just need to make sure we tighten up the back and we continue to be aggressive in our attacking play.
Sorry, are Indy then back this week? Or?
I think Tom and Brocky are kind of back in contention, but again, it might be too soon for them to to start the game. They may make the bench. That's the dilemmas you have now when you're picking the team. So we'll obviously see how they are over the next few days, but it's probably not fair on them to throw them straight back in.
Is there a time frame on Joe yet? I know it was up in the air, but is he weeks or months?
I think he'd be months, probably a couple of months maybe. He's kind of just started his rehab now after the op. Everything seems to have gone well, so now it's just a slow process of building that up, and hopefully then he can, you know, get the foundations right, because that's the most important part of any long-term injury is doing the early stages right and doing them correctly, that you don't have any relapse in it further down the line. So Joe was a top player, top professional, so he'll do everything he's asked to do and more. So we've no doubts that if there is a chance of him being back early, he will be, because he'll do everything the way it should be done.
You haven't the budget you have, you know, the current budget you haven't approached the chairman in case you need to bring in any players, or is that too premature, you know?
Well, I don't deal with the budgets, thankfully. That's nothing to do with me. That's obviously other people within the club. So, but no, look at the players that are here. As I've said to them earlier on in the week, like, we believe in the group that's here. Obviously, transfer windows can throw up all sorts of stuff where players that haven't been playing maybe want to go, players that, you know, are maybe looking to move on, maybe become available at other clubs. So that's stuff that you obviously look at and address. Yes, we'll obviously look at areas we need to strengthen, but I would imagine if we are bringing anyone in, people will probably need to move the other way as well.
John, are you ready to manage St. Pat's?
Ready to manage St. Pat's?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I am.
Like full time?
Yeah, well, I hope it's not part time. I'd like to be full time.
Have you any plans to talk to Garrett, or is there any plans to talk to you? Have you said, let's get this week out of the way?
No, again, as I said earlier, it's very much just take it day by day, game by game. I spoke to Garrett numerous times about other things. Obviously, in terms of the manager's position, in terms of the managerial situation, it's one of those. He's kind of told me it won't drag on and drag on and drag on, which worked for me, because ultimately, if a manager comes in and I'm moving on, I need to be ready to go for other stuff that maybe presents itself as well. You know, I can't be out of work too long myself, so yeah. But in terms of managing St. Pat's, 100% I'm ready to go. Man.
Because the flip side, he could say, yeah, rather than bring someone else in, he could say, I want to trust you with it, and that means you'd have to have conversations as well with that, because you'll have your own plans.
Well, hopefully.
Have you anybody, the fact that you're a man down or a person down on the coaching staff, like you've stepped up from Tim has gone, you stepped up, you've brought anybody else in? So
obviously that was a conversation I had when he asked me to take it. We're obviously a body down, so we've basically just kept the same ones on. Obviously Sean O'Connor and PJ were in a daily basis as well. Graham Kelly has come in to help, who's the 𝗨𝗏𝗶𝗱 women's manager. He was doing our opposition analyst's work, so he's come in to help us with that. Just being there on a day-to-day basis, and he obviously works as well, so it's the odd day he can't make it in, but so yeah, he's come in to help us now, which obviously then left us an opposition analyst down. So I've spoke to Ger O'Brien, who obviously is a pro licensed coach, works at the club, knows the game, so I've asked him to then go and do the opposition reports for me, which he done last week at the Drogheda Derry game, which he then obviously sent us on a very detailed report, which I wouldn't expect anything less from someone of his stature. So it's kind of all hands to the pump at the moment, and everybody helping, and so that's kind of how we've remedied the little issue of being a body down.
And just another one, if I may, the European draw is not very far away either.
Sorry?
European club.
Oh, European draw, yeah.
It's only 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll do.
But that's something that you challenge yourself. That's another thing. If you got this gig on a full-time basis, that excites you as well, managing in Europe. Again,
I'll go back to what I said earlier on. I'm only thinking of Friday. Like, of course, yeah, going into management and the opportunity to manage at that kind of level would be fantastic, but I'm thinking about beating Drogheda on Friday, and then after that you're then thinking, how can we get a result against Rovers, Shells, and moving on game by game. Obviously that's something that the club will be thinking about in the background, but it's not something that's on my mind just now.
Is there any managers who've influenced you, good or bad?
So that's that. Well, I've one in particular, and he knows who it is.
Yeah, look, you learn kind of from everyone as you go along. Probably when you're younger, you don't really pay attention to the coaching side because you think you're going to play forever, so you never think of what you're going to do when you finish. It's only probably later in your career when you start to look at what you're doing next, and then you start to maybe do your badges and you start to think, right, maybe this is something for me, that you start to then maybe take more attention and pay more attention to what managers are and aren't doing. And I think, you know, obviously Craig Levein was very good in his detail and what he wanted, and you had to do what you asked you to do or you didn't play, and it was very straightforward. He obviously left, Peter Houston took over when Levein went to Scotland. Houston gave us a bit more freedom. I didn't just have to pull on a diagonal, I could come and get the ball to my feet then, which I enjoyed. So you obviously learn the way they manage things differently, and then when you go to Rangers you obviously work with Ali, who has different ways of dealing with people and getting the best out of people, and you know, people probably questioned, you know, the tactical side of things, but his man management on a day-to-day basis was top notch. So there's loads of little things you take from different people, you know, so like I've always tried to take positives of what I would or wouldn't use, so yeah.
Have you spoken to Brian Kerr about interest?
Brian's obviously someone I spoke to when this situation happened. He was someone I know he goes to our games. He's obviously got an awful lot of experience on the game, and he's obviously managed at the top level, so you know, just pick his brain on a couple of things on what he's seen and stuff like that. But the conversation was very much, you know, we had a conversation about football, about how he sees it as a Pats fan, you know, because ultimately that's what he is, and then from his experience, obviously stuff that he would maybe do differently. Do I agree with it all? No, that's football. I'm not going to agree with everything that people say. I have to make my own kind of choices and my own decisions, and as I said earlier, I'm certainly big enough and bold enough to do that, and listen, I'm not always going to get it right. I'm not always going to make the right decisions, or I don't know all the answers, so ultimately I'm going to rely on your staff, and then, but when it comes to the crunch, you're the one that has to make the decision, and that's what I enjoyed on Friday. It was obviously the decisions you have to make, and being able to make them decisions at the right times, I felt was quite enjoyable. You know, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, then again, as I said, I'll hold my hands up and I'll just say that was wrong, and I'll learn from it.
Just finally, is the mood among the players, can you sense a bit of a balance? Are they in good form? Is there a bit
Players
of
are
happy camp type thing?
Yeah, of course. Listen, as you said earlier, winning breeds confidence, and they had a good result the weekend. We're obviously going into the game to win the game. As I said, Drogheda will pose us the problems we know they will pose us. So, but we're confident we can get the result we need to go and get the 3 points. But you know, we need to marry the performance and the result. For me, it comes hand in hand.